Hello there, and welcome. It's wonderful to have you here tonight. Breathe in, slowly, and let your mind sink beneath the surface. The ocean does not rush you. It opens itself like a dream, patient and vast, revealing its secrets to those who drift and watch in silence. Here, among drifting shadows and flickering light, creatures move with quiet brilliance. They paint the darkness. They turn vulnerability into spectacle. They carry colors that seem impossible, yet there they are, pulsing softly against the blue. Tonight, we'll journey through a world where walking replaces swimming, where beauty conceals poison, and where the smallest beings wear crowns more vivid than any jewel in any palace. If you find comfort in these gentle wanderings, you might like and subscribe, or leave a thought in the comments below. But for now, you don't need to do anything at all. Just let your shoulders soften. Let your breathing fall into its own rhythm. Imagine the hush of the seabed at twilight, where the light fades and the current moves like a whisper. Now, if you're ready, let's begin. The flamboyant cuttlefish walks where most others swim. There are creatures in the ocean that glide, others dart. Still others drift on invisible threads of current, surrendering to the push and pull of the tides. But the flamboyant cuttlefish does none of these things. It walks. This small cephalopod, no longer than your palm, moves across the seafloor, not by jetting through open water, but by placing one arm in front of another in a slow, deliberate crawl. Its scientific name is Ascarosepion pfefferi, though most who encounter it simply call it flamboyant, for reasons that become clear the moment you lay eyes on it. Found in the warm, shallow waters of the Indo-Pacific, from northern Australia to the Philippines, Indonesia, and Malaysia, it inhabits sandy slopes and muddy plains where the light filters down in pale, shifting columns. Most cuttlefish possess an internal shell called a cuttlebone, a chambered structure filled with gas that allows them to hover effortlessly in the water column, adjusting their buoyancy with the precision of a submarine. But the flamboyant cuttlefish broke that mold. Its cuttlebone is small, barely 2/3 the length of its body, and lacks the volume needed to keep it afloat for long. So instead of swimming, it walks. It presses its lower arms against the sand and ambles forward, step by step, like a tiny wanderer crossing a desert made of particles and shadows. This is not a slow retreat. This is not the movement of something fragile. The flamboyant cuttlefish walks with a kind of rhythmic confidence, its arms waving in slow, hypnotic motions, the protective membranes between them flaring and folding like the sleeves of a dancer. And as it moves, it changes. Dark brown one moment, then suddenly ablaze with color the next. Yellow bursts across its mantle. White streaks appear along its arms. Red flashes at the tips, bright and fierce, like embers on the edge of burning out. This is a warning. The flamboyant cuttlefish is one of only 3 known venomous cephalopods, and recent research has confirmed that its muscle tissue contains a toxin as deadly as that of the blue-ringed octopus. To predators, those vivid colors are a message written in the language of survival. Do not touch. Do not taste. I am beautiful, yes, but I am also dangerous. The transformation happens in seconds. When the cuttlefish is calm, hunting small crustaceans or resting in the shadow of coral rubble, it wears muted tones, blending into the seabed like a stone among stones. But the moment it feels threatened, or the moment it prepares to strike at prey, the color erupts. It is both spectacle and shield, a living advertisement of its own lethality. Scientists call this aposematism, the use of bright colors to signal danger. It is the same principle that paints poison dart frogs in neon greens and oranges, the same reason that wasps wear yellow and black. But here, in the dim theater of the ocean floor, the effect is even more striking. Against the dull sand and scattered shells, the flamboyant cuttlefish becomes a living ember, glowing against the ash-dark seabed. It does not need speed. It does not need to flee. It simply announces itself, and that announcement is enough. There is something almost defiant about this creature. It has abandoned one of the defining traits of its family, the ability to swim freely through open water, and in doing so, it has claimed a new kingdom. The seafloor, where most cuttlefish only visit briefly, becomes its entire world. It hunts there. It mates there. It performs its dazzling displays there, flashing its colors to rivals and potential mates alike. A slow parade of beauty and warning combined. Imagine standing on the edge of a vast, empty plain, the kind where the horizon stretches endlessly in all directions. Now imagine that plain is underwater, lit only by the faint glow of sunlight filtering through meters of water above. The sand ripples in soft waves. Small fish dart in and out of view. And then, moving across that plain with the patience of something that knows it has nothing to fear, comes the flamboyant cuttlefish, a spark of color in the monotone world. A reminder that even in the flattest, most barren places, life finds a way to astonish. The flamboyant cuttlefish's unusual locomotion and toxicity remind us that survival often demands breaking rules. Evolution does not reward conformity. It rewards solutions. And sometimes, the solution to life's pressures is to walk when everyone else swims, to glow when everyone else hides, to carry poison and beauty in equal measure. It is both spectacle and shield, both artist and assassin. A creature that proves the ocean's imagination is deeper than ours. Thus, nudibranchs are naked wonders of the sea. If the flamboyant cuttlefish is a living ember, then nudibranchs are living brushstrokes, scattered across the ocean's canvas in shapes and colors that seem too vivid to be real. The word nudibranch comes from the Latin nudus, meaning naked, and the Greek branchia, meaning gills. They are sea slugs, soft-bodied mollusks that shed their shells after their larval stage and spend the rest of their lives unprotected, exposed to the open water. And yet, far from being vulnerable, they are among the most successful and diverse creatures in the ocean. Over 3,000 known species exist, ranging in size from 4 millimeters to over half a meter in length. They inhabit every ocean on Earth, from the shallow intertidal zones where waves crash against rocks, to depths exceeding 2,000 meters, where sunlight has never reached. To see a nudibranch is to witness something that feels more like art than biology. Some are striped in electric blue and gold. Others are dotted with neon pink and orange. Still others look like delicate flowers, their serrata finger-like projections on their back, swaying gently in the current like petals stirred by wind. They crawl across coral, rocks, and seaweed, leaving faint trails in their wake, moving with a slowness that makes every motion deliberate, purposeful. But their beauty is not decoration. It is strategy. Many nudibranchs feed on creatures far more dangerous than themselves. They consume jellyfish, anemones, and hydroids, creatures armed with stinging cells called nematocysts that can paralyze or kill other animals. And here is where the nudibranch reveals its genius. Instead of digesting these stinging cells, it steals them. The nematocysts pass through the nudibranch's digestive system unharmed, traveling through the alimentary tract and eventually being transported to specialized sacs at the tips of the serrata. These stolen weapons, called kleptocnidae, are then stored and used by the nudibranch for its own defense. Think about that for a moment. A soft, slow-moving creature, with no armor, no venom of its own, no speed to escape predators, somehow turns the weapons of its prey into its own protection. It is theft, yes, but it is also art. Evolution has granted the nudibranch the ability to become an arsenal by borrowing from others. Not all nudibranchs rely on stolen stings. Some produce their own chemical defenses, secreting toxins from glands in their skin that make them distasteful or deadly to predators. Others rely on camouflage, their colors and textures mimicking the corals and sponges they live among, turning invisibility into survival. And then there are those that do something even more remarkable. They glow. Certain species of pelagic nudibranchs, like those in the family Philaroidae, possess bioluminescence, the ability to produce light through chemical reactions in their bodies. In the deep, dark expanses of the open ocean, these nudibranchs drift like stars, faint pulses of green or blue marking their passage through the void. Nudibranchs are found in nearly every marine environment imaginable. In tropical reefs, they crawl across vibrant coral gardens, their colors blending and clashing with the life around them. In temperate waters, they navigate kelp forests, their movements slow and dreamlike. In the deep sea, they glide through near-total darkness, relying on senses we can barely imagine. Some species are no bigger than a grain of rice. Others grow large enough to fill your hand. Some live for only a few weeks. Others survive for over a year, drifting and feeding in a world where time moves differently than it does on land. To walk through a reef at night with a flashlight is to enter their world fully. The beam catches flashes of color in places you hadn't noticed before. A nudibranch clinging to the underside of a ledge, its body a swirl of purple and yellow. Another perched on a sponge, feeding slowly, its mouth parts working in tiny, rhythmic motions. And occasionally, if you are lucky, you might see one glowing faintly in the dark, a soft luminescence that pulses and fades like a heartbeat made of light. Nudibranchs embody adaptation and artistry. They reveal how evolution can turn vulnerability into spectacle. They are proof that survival does not always require armor or speed or size. Sometimes survival is about being bold, about announcing yourself in colors so vivid that predators think twice, about stealing what you need and making it your own, about glowing in the dark when everything else has gone silent. They are walking jewels, living brushstrokes, proof that even in a world as hostile as the ocean, beauty can thrive, not despite danger, but because of it. The mandarin fish carries its own royal robes. If nudibranchs are the ocean's painters, then the mandarin fish is its emperor, dressed in robes so vivid they seem impossible. Its scientific name is Synchirapus splendidus, which translates roughly to splendid hand-foot, a reference to the way it uses its pectoral fins to walk along the reef. But most people simply call it the mandarin fish, a name inspired by the ornate silk garments worn by imperial Chinese officials. And the comparison is apt. The mandarin fish is draped in electric blue and burning orange, swirls and stripes that spiral across its body in patterns that look hand-painted. Its face is marked with bold blue lines, its eyes rimmed in the same vivid hue, giving it an expression that seems both regal and curious. It is small, rarely exceeding 6 centimeters in length, and it inhabits the coral reefs of the Pacific, from the Ryukyu Islands near Japan all the way down to the coasts of Australia. It prefers sheltered lagoons and inshore reefs, places where the water is calm and the coral grows thick. During the day, it stays hidden, tucked into crevices and shadows, avoiding the open water where larger predators hunt. But as the light begins to fade, it emerges, fluttering across the reef like a tiny, glowing kite. What makes the mandarin fish truly extraordinary, though, is not just its appearance, but the way that appearance is created. Most animals that appear blue do so through structural coloration, a trick of physics rather than chemistry. Their skin contains microscopic structures that reflect and scatter light in specific ways, creating the illusion of blue, even though no blue pigment is present. This is how butterflies shimmer. This is how peacock feathers glow. But the mandarin fish is different. It is one of only 2 vertebrate species known to possess true blue pigment, created by specialized cells called cyanophores. The blue you see on a mandarin fish is not an illusion. It is real, a chemical compound embedded in its skin as vivid and permanent as the orange that swirls beside it. The only other vertebrate with this ability is the psychedelic mandarin, a closely related species with patterns even more surreal. This alone would make the mandarin fish remarkable. But it has another trick, one that is less visible but no less effective. Instead of scales, which most fish use for protection, the mandarin fish secretes a thick, bitter slime that coats its entire body. This mucus is laced with toxins that discourage predators and parasites alike. It is why mandarin fish rarely suffer from infections or infestations that plague other reef fish. The slime is their armor, invisible but impenetrable. To watch a mandarin fish move is to see grace in miniature. Its fins flutter constantly, almost too fast to follow, propelling it in short, darting bursts across the coral. It uses its pectoral fins like hands, pressing them against the reef to steady itself as it hunts for tiny crustaceans and invertebrates hidden in the crevices. Its movements are delicate, deliberate, as though it is aware of the fragility of the world around it. And, in a way, perhaps it is. Mandarin fish are notoriously difficult to keep in captivity. Many refuse to eat anything but live prey, starving themselves in aquariums despite the availability of food. Those that do adapt are considered hardy, but even then, they require specific conditions, a balance of live rock, abundant microfauna, and careful tank mates. They are not fish for novices. They are fish for those willing to recreate, as closely as possible, the intricate ecosystems they depend on in the wild. In their natural habitat, they are equally selective. They feed continuously during the day, pecking at the reef with the precision of a jeweler examining a gemstone. Each morsel is chosen carefully. Each movement is measured. There is no rushing, no wasted energy, just the slow, steady rhythm of a creature that knows its place in the world and moves through it with quiet confidence. Imagine standing at the edge of a coral reef at dusk, the water turning from turquoise to deep indigo as the sun sinks below the horizon. The reef is alive with motion, fish darting in and out of crevices, eels emerging from their dens, octopuses stretching their arms into the air, fading light. And then, just at the edge of your vision, a flash of blue and orange. You turn, and there it is, a mandarin fish hovering for a moment above a coral head, its fins fluttering like silk sleeves caught in a breeze. It dips, flickers, and disappears back into the reef, leaving only the faint impression of color behind, a ghost of brilliance in the gathering dark. The mandarin fish proves that grandeur can be small, that rarity does not need size to command reverence. Its fragile beauty carries its own defense, written in pigment and slime, in patterns that have no equal anywhere else in the ocean. It is both delicate and enduring, a living reminder that even the smallest creatures can wear crowns. Zuctors, the quiet awe, beneath the waves. In the hush of the sea, beauty is never without purpose. From cuttlefish that walk across barren plains, glowing with warnings written in yellow and red, to slugs that steal the weapons of their enemies and turn them into shields, to a fish dressed in blue flame that drifts through coral like a living jewel. Each life is an answer to the ocean's questions. How do you survive when you are small? How do you thrive when you are soft? How do you announce yourself when the world is vast and dark and full of teeth? The answers are written in color and chemistry, in behavior and adaptation, in 1,000 quiet strategies that evolution has refined over millions of years. The flamboyant cuttlefish walks because it cannot swim. The nudibranch steals because it cannot sting. The mandarin fish glows because it has found a way to make blue real. And, as you rise again toward the light above, their colors stay with you. The ember glow of the cuttlefish on the sand, the swirling patterns of the nudibranch as it drifts across coral, the sapphire flash of the mandarin fish disappearing into the reef. Reminders that the deep is always more inventive than imagination. Reminders that even in a world as hostile as the ocean, Beauty finds a way, not despite danger, but because of it. Beneath the Surface, a journey into the ocean's hidden artistry. Part 2. Hunters, Ghosts, and Ribbons of Change. The reef stretches before you like a living tapestry, its threads stitched by fins and fronds. Coral branches reach upward like frozen flames. Seagrass sways in rhythm with currents you cannot see. And everywhere, in the crevices and shadows, in the spaces between light and dark, creatures move with purpose. Some hunt, some hide, some transform so completely that they become unrecognizable even to themselves. Here, where light scatters in broken jewels across the water's surface, hunters and dancers share the same stage. Every movement is a story, of warning, of disguise, of transformation. And tonight we'll drift deeper still, following 3 lives that teach us how to be fierce, how to vanish, and how to become someone else entirely. Let the water hold you. Let your thoughts dissolve into the blue. And let us begin again. The lionfish is beauty. Armed with venoms, there are creatures in the ocean that announce themselves gently, fading into their surroundings like whispers. And then there is the lionfish. It does not whisper. It proclaims. Belonging to the genus Pteroi, the lionfish is native to the warm waters of the Indo-Pacific, where it drifts through coral gardens and rocky outcrops with an almost lazy grace. Its body is adorned in bold stripes of maroon, white, and brown, painted in patterns that catch the eye even from a distance. But it is the fins that truly command attention. Long fan-like pectoral fins spread outward like the wings of a bird, frozen mid-flight, each ray tipped with delicate filaments that trail through the water like ribbons of silk. The dorsal spines rise high along its back, 13 of them in total, each one striped and elegant, each one concealing a sharp, hollow needle filled with venom. This is not decoration. This is armament. The lionfish carries 18 venomous spines in total, 13 along its back, 3 near its anal fin, and 2 on its pelvic fins. When threatened, it does not flee. It turns, presenting its spines forward, flaring its pectoral fins wide to appear larger, more dangerous. The message is clear, and most predators heed it. The venom delivered by those spines is potent enough to cause extreme pain in humans and, in rare cases, severe allergic reactions that require immediate medical attention. For smaller fish, the venom can be fatal. But the lionfish is not merely a passive defender. It is an active, relentless hunter. Watch one closely, and you will see the precision of its technique. It drifts near a school of small fish, its movements slow and deliberate. The pectoral fins spread wide, creating a curtain of stripes that confuses and corrals its prey. Then, in a sudden burst, it blows a jet of water from its mouth, disorienting the fish, altering their orientation so they face the lionfish head-on. This is not random. This is strategy. Studies have shown that headfirst capture is easier for predators, and the lionfish has learned to manipulate its prey into the perfect position before striking. The strike itself is almost too fast to follow. The mouth opens, the fish is swallowed whole, and the lionfish returns to its slow drift, as though nothing has happened at all. In its native range, the lionfish is part of a balanced ecosystem. Natural predators like groupers, moray eels, and barracudas keep its population in check. But remove those predators, or introduce the lionfish to waters where it has none, and the balance shatters. This is exactly what has happened in the Atlantic Ocean and the Caribbean Sea. No one knows for certain how the first lionfish arrived in these foreign waters. Some believe they were released by aquarium owners who found them too difficult to care for. Others point to Hurricane Andrew in 1992, which destroyed an aquarium in southern Florida, releasing 6 lionfish into Biscayne Bay. But genetic testing suggests the invasion may have begun even earlier, with specimens resembling populations from the Philippines. Whatever the origin, the result has been catastrophic. Lionfish now inhabit reefs, wrecks, and other habitat types in the warm marine waters of the greater Atlantic, and they continue to expand at astonishing speeds, harming native coral reef ecosystems in the Atlantic, Gulf of Mexico, and Caribbean. They have spread from the coast of North Carolina down to Brazil, from Bermuda to the Gulf of Mexico. In some areas, they have caused reductions in native fish recruitment by an average of 79% over just a few weeks. They eat voraciously, consuming over 70 species of fish and invertebrates, including juveniles of commercially important species like grouper and snapper. And because they have no natural predators in these waters, their populations have exploded. They are voracious predators that disrupt coral ecosystems, and their range is spreading through a combination of lack of natural predators and the expansion of hospitable warm waters into higher latitudes as part of climate change. The lionfish invasion is now considered one of the most serious threats to Caribbean and Florida coral reef ecosystems. Efforts to control their spread have included organized hunting derbies, where divers spear lionfish by the hundreds. Some regions have promoted lionfish as a food source, encouraging restaurants to add it to their menus. When properly prepared, the meat is delicious, described as buttery and tender, with a delicate flavor similar to grouper. The venom, which is protein-based, breaks down quickly when heated, making cooked lionfish completely safe to eat. But even with these efforts, the lionfish persists. It reproduces rapidly, with females capable of laying up to 2 million eggs per year. It tolerates a wide range of temperatures and salinities. It can survive in depths from shallow reefs to over 200 meters, and it shows no sign of slowing down. The lionfish is a reminder that beauty unchecked can overwhelm, that elegance, when combined with appetite and adaptability, can become a force of ecological destruction. It is both native marvel and invasive threat, a living contradiction that teaches us how fragile balances can be undone by one uninvited guest. In the waters where it belongs, the lionfish is a hunter draped in coral silk, stalking its kingdom with the confidence of something that knows its place. But in the waters where it does not belong, it is something else entirely. A specter, an unraveling, a warning written in stripes and venom that even the most beautiful things can become dangerous when they are out of place. The leafy sea dragon is camouflage turned into art. If the lionfish announces itself boldly, the leafy sea dragon does the opposite. It disappears. Found only along the southern and western coasts of Australia, from Wilson's Promontory in Victoria to Jurien Bay in Western Australia, the leafy sea dragon is one of the ocean's most extraordinary examples of camouflage. Its scientific name is Phycodurus X, which translates roughly to seaweed tail horse, a fitting description for a creature that looks less like an animal and more like a piece of drifting kelp caught in the current. Its body is adorned with leaf-like appendages that sprout from its head, back, and tail, each one shaped and textured to resemble the blades of seagrass or the fronds of floating algae. These lobes are not used for propulsion. They do not flap or paddle. They simply hang, swaying gently with the motion of the water, creating the perfect illusion of a plant adrift. The sea dragon's actual locomotion comes from two nearly invisible fins, a pair of small pectoral fins near its neck and a dorsal fin along its back, closer to the tail. These fins are so transparent, so delicate, that they are almost impossible to see. They ripple in tiny, rapid undulations, moving the sea dragon through the water with a grace that seems more like floating than swimming. To watch a leafy sea dragon is to question where plant ends and animal begins. It drifts among kelp forests and seagrass beds, its body tilting and swaying with the rhythm of the tide. Its colors shift subtly depending on its surroundings, ranging from golden yellow to deep green to reddish brown. It does not need to hide. It simply becomes part of the landscape, a living blur between myth and biology. But camouflage is not the sea dragon's only remarkable trait. It is also one of the few creatures in the animal kingdom where the male becomes pregnant. The most unusual fact about the leafy sea dragon is that the male becomes pregnant and gives birth to live young. During mating, the female produces up to 250 bright pink eggs, each one a tiny sphere of potential life. She then deposits them onto a specialized brood patch on the underside of the male's tail, transferring them through a long tube called an ovipositor. Unlike seahorse fathers, who carry fertilized eggs in a pouch on their bellies, male sea dragons use an exposed spongy patch beneath their tails, incubating up to 300 eggs at a time. The eggs attach themselves to the brood patch, which is rich with capillaries that supply them with oxygen and nutrients. Over the course of approximately 9 weeks, they develop, slowly turning from bright pink to translucent purple or orange, the tiny sea dragons visible inside their casings. When the time comes, the father pumps and shakes his tail to hatch his offspring. The delivery can take up to 2 days. The newborns emerge fully formed, miniature replicas of their parents, complete with their own leaf-like appendages. They receive no care from either parent. From the moment they are born, they are completely independent, drifting off into the kelp forests to begin their solitary lives. Only about 5% of them will survive to adulthood. The leafy sea dragon is the marine emblem of South Australia, a symbol of the region's unique biodiversity. It is protected by law, and collecting or harming one carries significant penalties. Yet despite these protections, the species faces threats. Pollution and industrial runoff degrade the kelp forests they depend on. Climate change warms the waters, altering the delicate ecosystems where they live. And occasionally, they are still collected illegally for the aquarium trade, though keeping them alive in captivity has proven extraordinarily difficult. To see a leafy sea dragon in the wild is to witness one of evolution's most delicate masterpieces. It is a dragon disguised as drifting seaweed, a creature so perfectly adapted to its environment that it seems to have dissolved into it entirely. It teaches us that survival can be hidden in beauty, that strength does not always require armor or venom or speed. Sometimes, strength is simply the ability to vanish, to become indistinguishable from the world around you, to float through life as though you were never more than a shadow, a shimmer, a golden frond swaying in the tide. And in that quiet disappearance, there is a kind of magic that words can barely touch. The ribbon eel lives many lives in one body. Some creatures are born into their final form, their identities fixed from the moment they emerge into the world. But the ribbon eel is not one of them. Its scientific name is Rhinomuraena quiescita, and it inhabits the shallow reefs and sand burrows of the Indo-Pacific, from the Red Sea to the coasts of southern Japan, Indonesia, and Australia. It is long and slender, ribbon-like in shape, capable of reaching lengths of up to 130 centimeters. But what makes the ribbon eel truly extraordinary is not its length or its sinuous grace. It is the fact that it lives many lives in one body, transforming not once, but twice, over the course of its existence. When a ribbon eel is born, it is jet black with a yellow dorsal fin that runs the length of its body like a painted stripe. At this stage, it is a juvenile, small and solitary, living in crevices and coral rubble where it hunts for tiny crustaceans and fish. Its jaws are perpetually open, lined with sharp teeth, gaping in a constant, almost eerie motion as it waits for prey to drift within range. The expanded anterior nostrils give it a distinctive appearance, flaring outward like tiny horns. But the black phase does not last. As the eel matures, it undergoes its first transformation. The black fades, replaced by a vibrant electric blue that seems to glow against the coral. Yellow remains, but now it appears as accents. A bold stripe along the jaw, flashes along the dorsal fin, highlights that make the eel look as though it has been painted by hand. This is the male phase. The blue ribbon eel is striking, a thread of color weaving through the reef, its long body undulating as it hunts, its jaws still gaping, still waiting. But the transformation is not complete. The ribbon eel is a protandric hermaphrodite, meaning it begins life as a male and later transitions into a female. No one knows exactly what triggers this change. It may be environmental factors, population dynamics, or simply age. But when the transformation occurs, it is dramatic. The blue fades, the yellow intensifies, spreading across the entire body until the eel is a golden streamer, flickering like fire in the water. The body grows larger. The behavior changes. And now, as a female, the eel is ready to reproduce. This transformation is rare in the animal kingdom, and among moray eels, it is unique to the ribbon eel. Most morays are born as either male or female and remain that way for life. But the ribbon eel has found a different strategy, one that allows it to maximize reproductive success by changing roles depending on the needs of the population. If there are too few females, a male can become one. If the population is balanced, it remains male for longer. The eel's identity is not fixed. It is fluid, rewritten by necessity and survival. To witness all three phases of a ribbon eel's life is to see time made visible. A black ribbon slipping through sand, cautious and small. An electric blue thread weaving in coral shadows, bold and hunting. A golden streamer flickering in the current, preparing to lay eggs and continue the cycle. Each phase is a different life, lived in the same body. A reminder that identity is not something we are born with and carry unchanged to the end. It is something that shifts and adapts, something that responds to the world around us, something that can be reborn even as we continue to exist. The ribbon eel embodies change as destiny. It does not resist transformation. It embraces it, moving through its phases with the same sinuous grace it uses to navigate the reef. It is a living banner of metamorphosis, stitched by time, proof that even within a single life, there is room for many selves. And perhaps that is the most profound lesson the ribbon eel offers. That we are not static. That the selves we inhabit today may not be the selves we wear tomorrow. That survival, in its deepest sense, is not about staying the same, but about learning when to change, when to shed one skin and step into another, when to let the black fade into blue, and the blue dissolve into gold. The lessons of the reef. The reef does not choose between beauty and danger. It holds them both. Striped hunters with venom in their spines, leafy ghosts that dissolve into seaweed, ribbons of change that rewrite themselves across lifetimes. They move together in the same tides, sharing the same waters, teaching the same lessons in different languages. The lionfish teaches us that beauty can be fierce, that elegance does not preclude lethality, and that even the most stunning creatures can become threats when they are out of place. It reminds us that balance is fragile, that ecosystems are woven from threads of predator and prey, and that pulling one thread can unravel the entire tapestry. The leafy sea dragon teaches us that survival can be hidden in plain sight, that strength does not always roar, and that sometimes the greatest power is the ability to become invisible, to blend so completely with the world that you are indistinguishable from it. It shows us that camouflage is not weakness, but artistry, a way of moving through life without conflict, without announcement, simply drifting like a golden frond in the tide. The ribbon eel teaches us that identity is not fixed, that we are capable of transformation, and that the selves we inhabit are not prisons but garments, worn for a time, and then changed when the season demands it. It reminds us that survival is not about resisting change, but about embracing it, about becoming someone new when the old self no longer serves. And you, rising through the shimmer, carry their lessons with you. That survival can be fierce, hidden, or reborn. That the ocean does not offer simple answers, only patterns, colors, and transformations. That every creature, no matter how strange or beautiful or dangerous, is teaching us something about the way life moves through this world. All we have to do is watch, and listen, and drift. Beneath the Surface, a journey into the ocean's hidden artistry. Part 3. Glitter in the abyss and the surface of dreams. Beneath the last reach of sunlight, the water folds into silence. The shallow gardens where we began our journey feel distant now, fading into memory, like a dream recalled at dawn. The reefs with their flamboyant dancers, their camouflaged ghosts, their ribbons of transformation, they remain behind, bathed in the last filtered rays of daylight. But we are descending deeper still, following the water as it darkens, as the pressure builds, as the temperature drops, and the world transforms into something ancient and strange. Here pressure builds, light fades, and the ocean writes in secret ink, revealing truths only to those willing to drift into its most remote theaters. What seems unlivable is already inhabited. What appears barren is already blooming, by creatures dazzling in ways the surface could not imagine. Tonight, in this final chapter, we will meet those who glitter in the abyss and those who float at the boundary between sea and sky. We will journey to the extremes, where heat vents from the Earth's core and where the surface tension holds tiny warriors aloft. And when we are done, we will rise together, carrying with us the stories of a world that lives always just beyond our sight. Let your breath slow, let the darkness settle around you like a blanket, and let us descend one last time. Elvis worms. Glitter in the darkness of the abyss. Most of us imagine the deep sea as a place of endless black, a void where nothing moves and nothing shines. But this is not the truth. Even in the deepest, most hostile reaches of the ocean, life finds a way, not only to survive, but to dazzle. Enter the Elvis worms. They belong to the genus Pineleopolino, a group of scale worms discovered in some of the most extreme environments on Earth. 6 species are currently known, with 4 of them identified as recently as 2020. Using the manned research submarine Alvin and remotely operated vehicles, researchers collected worm specimens from the bottom of the eastern Pacific Ocean, the Gulf of Mexico, and near Costa Rica, discovering many worms feasting on the fallen carcasses of whales and along hydrothermal vents. These are places where boiling water erupts from cracks in the seafloor, where methane seeps poison the water, where whale carcasses sink into the sediment and become entire ecosystems unto themselves. And it is here, in these nutrient-rich but chemically hostile environments, that the Elvis worms thrive. Their nickname comes from their appearance. They earned the nickname because of the sequin-like appearance of their shells. Each worm is covered in overlapping scales that flash metallic pinks, golds, and purples, reflecting what little light exists in the deep-like sequins on a stage costume. The scales are both armor and ornament, protecting the soft body beneath while catching the eye of anyone fortunate enough to witness them. To see an Elvis worm gliding across a hydrothermal vent or crawling over the bones of a fallen whale is to see a rock star in the abyss, strutting through vents and shadows with a kind of unexpected glamour. But these worms are not merely decorative. They are survivors in the truest sense. Hydrothermal vents are among the most extreme habitats on Earth. Water temperatures can exceed 350 degrees Celsius, hot enough to melt lead. The water is rich in sulfur, hydrogen sulfide, and heavy metals, chemicals that would be lethal to most life. And yet, around these vents, entire ecosystems flourish. Giant tube worms, eyeless shrimp, bacterial mats, and yes, Elvis worms, All find ways to thrive where life should not exist. Scale worms have been discovered on whale carcasses, volcanic seamounts, hydrothermal vents, cold seeps, all habitats that house chemical-harnessing bacteria. They have jaws, which we suspect they use to graze bacteria, explains one researcher, adding that they believe the worms are bacteriovores. Rather than hunting larger prey, the Elvis worms appear to graze on the thick mats of bacteria that coat these extreme environments. The bacteria themselves feed on the chemicals spewing from the vents or seeping from the sediment, converting toxic compounds into energy through a process called chemosynthesis. And the Elvis worms, in turn, feed on the bacteria, forming a link in a food chain that does not depend on sunlight at all. This is a world powered not by photosynthesis, but by the Earth itself, by heat and pressure and chemistry. And in that world, the Elvis worms are not just survivors. They are specialists, adapted to conditions that would destroy most other life. Imagine standing on the edge of a volcanic seamount, thousands of meters below the ocean's surface. The water is black, cold, and still, except for the occasional shimmer of bioluminescence drifting past like a ghost. And then, in the beam of a submersible's lights, you see it. A gleam like oil on water, a flash of metallic pink and gold. The Elvis worm moves slowly across the rocks, its scales catching the light, its body undulating with a grace that seems almost deliberate. It is a creature that should not be beautiful. It lives in a place that should not support life. And yet, here it is, glittering against the dark, proof that even the harshest depths are stages for spectacle. The discovery of 4 new species in 2020 reminded the scientific community that the deep sea is still largely unexplored. We know more about the surface of Mars than we do about the deepest parts of our own oceans, and every expedition, every dive, every remotely operated vehicle sent into the abyss brings back images and specimens that challenge our understanding of what life can be. Elvis worms prove that even the harshest depths are stages for spectacle. They embody resilience dressed as glamour, showing us that life survives not by dimming, but by glittering against the dark. In a world where most creatures have evolved to be invisible, to blend into the shadows, to conserve energy and avoid detection, the Elvis worms chose a different path. They chose to shine. And perhaps that is the lesson they offer, that survival is not always about hiding, that sometimes, even in the darkest places, the best strategy is to catch the light, to reflect it back, to announce yourself with a flash of color and a shimmer of scales. That glamour is not frivolous, but functional. That beauty, even in the abyss, has a purpose. Tugters, the blue sea dragon, floats upside down, wielding stolen fire. If the Elvis worms glitter in the deep, the blue sea dragon drifts at the opposite extreme. The surface, where air and water meet, where the boundary between sky and sea blurs into something neither and both. Its scientific name is Glaucus atlanticus, but it is known by many names: blue sea dragon, blue angel, blue glaucus, sea swallow. All of them attempt to capture the ethereal, otherworldly quality of this tiny creature, which rarely exceeds 3 centimeters in length, yet wields a sting far more potent than its size suggests. The blue sea dragon has a gas bubble in its stomach that makes it easier for them to float. They are carried along by the winds and ocean currents. G. atlanticus makes use of counter-shading. The blue side of their bodies faces upwards, blending in with the blue of the water. It floats upside down, its ventral surface, the part that would normally face downward, turned toward the sky. This side is painted in brilliant sapphire blue, a color so vivid it seems to glow. The dorsal surface, now facing the depths below, is silver gray, almost metallic. This is counter-shading, a form of camouflage used by many marine animals. From above, a predatory bird or fish sees only silver, blending with the sunlit surface. From below, a predator looking upward sees only blue, indistinguishable from the sky. The blue sea dragon is helpless against the currents. It has no way to swim with purpose, no way to navigate. It simply drifts, carried by wind and water, going wherever the ocean decides to take it. And yet, despite this apparent vulnerability, it is one of the most dangerous creatures in the open ocean. It only feeds on venomous creatures such as Portuguese man-o'-war, whose poisons do not affect them. As it consumes its prey with a set of sharp serrated teeth, Glaucus atlanticus appropriates the victim's stinging cells and stores them in its serrata in a more highly concentrated dosage. Think about that for a moment. This tiny, drifting slug, no larger than a grape, hunts one of the ocean's most feared predators. The Portuguese man-o'-war, with its tentacles stretching meters through the water, armed with millions of nematocysts capable of delivering stings so painful they can send humans to the hospital. And the blue sea dragon, weightless and fragile, attacks it. Using its muscular foot, the sea dragon clings to the surface film of the water and waits. When it encounters a Portuguese man-o'-war, it does not flee. It feeds. With sharp, serrated teeth, it tears into the gelatinous body of its prey, consuming chunks of tissue along with the deadly stinging cells. But instead of digesting these nematocysts, it stores them. The cells travel through the sea dragon's gut, unharmed, and are transported to specialized sacs called kinetosacs, located at the tips of its finger-like serrata, the blue, wing-like projections that extend from its body. Glaucus atlanticus stores them in its serrata, in a more highly concentrated dosage. The blue sea dragon concentrates the venom, making its sting even more potent than that of the man-o'-war itself. What was already dangerous becomes deadly. What was a weapon for one creature becomes a shield for another. One sting from this little guy can lead to nausea, pain, vomiting, acute allergic contact dermatitis, and post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Humans who handle blue sea dragons, often unaware of the danger hidden in such a small, beautiful form, can receive stings far worse than those from the man-o'-war itself. The pain is immediate. The nausea comes in waves, and in severe cases, allergic reactions can be life-threatening. This is the paradox of the blue sea dragon. It is tiny, weightless, adrift. It has no speed, no strength, no ability to control its own path. And yet, it is armed. It is dangerous. It is a thief of thunder, cloaked in sapphire, wielding fire it did not create, but has learned to wield with deadly precision. To see one in the wild is rare. They live in the open ocean, drifting in tropical and subtropical waters around the world. Occasionally they wash ashore after storms, found stranded on beaches where people mistake them for harmless jewels. They are collected, photographed, touched, and only later, when the pain begins, do people realize what they have held in their hands. Imagine floating at the surface of the ocean, the sun warm on your back, the water clear and endless in all directions, and then, just at the edge of your vision, a flash of blue. You turn, and there it is, a creature no larger than your thumb, wings spread wide, drifting like a tiny angel just beneath the surface. It is beautiful, it is mesmerizing, and it is deadly. The blue sea dragon embodies paradox, fragile yet dangerous, weightless yet armed, helpless yet capable of taking down prey 100 times its size. It is a reminder that power often hides in the smallest forms, adrift where sky and sea blur together, where the boundary between vulnerability and lethality dissolves into something impossible to define. It teaches us that survival is not always about size or speed or strength. Sometimes survival is about theft, about taking what you need from those stronger than you and making it your own, about drifting where the currents take you and trusting that when the time comes, you will be ready. About wearing beauty like armor and venom like a crown. And perhaps, in the end, that is the most profound lesson the blue sea dragon offers. That we do not need to be large to be powerful. That we do not need to control our path to survive the journey. That sometimes the most dangerous thing in the water is the one that looks like art. Rising through the layers. From shallow gardens to abyssal stages, the sea reveals its endless imagination. We have drifted through reefs where cuttlefish walk on ember-colored arms, warning the world of their toxicity with flashes of yellow and red. We have watched nudibranchs steal the weapons of their enemies and wear them like borrowed crowns. We have marveled at the mandarin fish, draped in robes of true blue pigment, drifting through coral palaces with the grace of royalty. We have followed lionfish as they spread their striped fans and corner prey, their beauty a warning, their presence in foreign waters a reminder that even the most elegant creatures can become threats when they are out of place. We have seen leafy sea dragons dissolve into kelp forests, their bodies so perfectly camouflaged that they seem to vanish into the seaweed itself, while male seahorses carry hundreds of eggs on their tails, birthing the next generation into currents that will carry them far from home. We have witnessed ribbon eels transform from black to blue to gold, living many lives in one body, shedding identities like skins, reminding us that change is not an ending, but a beginning, over and over again. And we have descended into the abyss, where Elvis worms glitter like sequins in the dark, grazing on bacterial mats that grow around vents spewing heat and poison, proving that even the harshest depths are stages for spectacle. We have drifted at the surface with blue sea dragons, tiny and weightless, stealing venom from the Portuguese man-o'-war and concentrating it into stings more potent than the original, floating upside down between sky and sea, cloaked in sapphire and armed with stolen fire. Some creatures walk, some disguise, some glow like sequins in the dark, some float like angels at the boundary of worlds. Yet all are answers to survival's song, each one a verse written in color, chemistry, and adaptation. The ocean does not offer simple lessons. It does not divide its creatures into good and bad, harmless and dangerous, beautiful and ugly. It holds all of these qualities at once, weaving them together into a tapestry so complex that we can spend lifetimes trying to understand even a single thread. But if there is one truth that runs through every creature we have met tonight, it is this: life finds a way, not just to survive, but to astonish, to dazzle, to turn vulnerability into strength, to transform danger into art, to take what seems impossible and make it real. The flamboyant cuttlefish walks because it cannot swim, and in that limitation, it finds freedom. The nudibranch steals because it cannot sting, and in that theft, it finds power. The mandarin fish glows with true blue pigment, a chemical miracle that defies the physics most animals rely on. The lionfish spreads its venomous spines and hunts with precision, its beauty both warning and weapon. The leafy sea dragon vanishes into seaweed, its camouflage so perfect that it becomes invisible. The ribbon eel transforms from black to blue to gold, rewriting itself across lifetimes. The Elvis worm glitters in the abyss, turning the harshest depths into a stage, and the blue sea dragon floats at the surface, stealing fire and wielding it with deadly grace. Each one of them is proof that the ocean is more inventive than imagination, that evolution does not follow rules we can predict, that life, when pressed against the limits of what seems possible, does not give up. It transforms, it adapts, it finds new ways to be. The surface breaks. As you drift upward toward the light above, the ocean's stories remain below, endless and unseen, waiting for those who will listen again. The water grows warmer, the pressure eases, The darkness lifts, replaced by shades of blue that deepen and brighten with every meter you rise. And then, finally, the surface breaks. Light floods in. Air replaces water. And you are back in the world you know, the world of sun and sky and solid ground. But something has changed. The colors stay with you. The ember glow of the cuttlefish on the sand. The swirling patterns of the nudibranch as it drifts across coral. The sapphire flash of the mandarin fish disappearing into the reef. The striped fans of the lionfish, flaring wide. The golden fronds of the leafy sea dragon, dissolving into kelp. The electric blue ribbon eel, weaving through shadows. The glitter of the Elvis worm in the abyss. The tiny, deadly grace of the blue sea dragon, floating upside down between worlds. They stay with you, because they are more than creatures. They are lessons, reminders, proof that the deep is always more inventive than imagination, that even in a world as hostile as the ocean, beauty finds a way, not despite danger, but because of it, not by hiding, but by announcing itself, not by conforming, but by transforming. And perhaps that is the gift the ocean offers us, not answers, but questions, not certainty, but wonder. Not simplicity, but complexity so rich and layered that we could spend 1,000 lifetimes exploring it and still find something new with every dive. The ocean does not need us to understand it. It continues, whether we watch or not. But when we do watch, when we drift and listen and let ourselves be carried into its depths, it offers us something precious, a glimpse of a world where the rules are different, where walking replaces swimming, where theft becomes power, where change is destiny, where glamour serves survival, where the smallest forms wield the greatest fire. And in that world, we find reflections of ourselves, our own struggles, our own adaptations, our own transformations. We see that we too are creatures trying to survive in an environment that does not always welcome us, that we too must sometimes walk when others swim, steal when we cannot create, transform when our old selves no longer serve us. The ocean is not separate from us. It is part of us. We came from it, billions of years ago, and we carry its salt in our blood, its rhythms in our breath. And when we return to it, even if only in imagination, we return to something ancient and true, something that reminds us who we are and who we might become. So as you rise through the surface and breathe the air again, remember. Remember the flamboyant cuttlefish, walking where others swim. Remember the nudibranch, stealing fire from its enemies. Remember the mandarin fish, glowing in true blue. Remember the lionfish, beautiful and dangerous. Remember the leafy sea dragon, vanishing into kelp. Remember the ribbon eel, living many lives in one body. Remember the Elvis worm, glittering in the abyss. Remember the blue sea dragon, floating between sky and sea, armed with stolen thunder. Remember that the ocean is always there, waiting beneath the surface, holding stories we have not yet heard, creatures we have not yet met, colors we have not yet seen. And when you are ready, you can always return. The water will hold you, the current will carry you, and the creatures of the deep will teach you once again that life is more than survival. It is art. It is transformation. It is wonder. Thank you for drifting with us through these hidden waters. Until we meet again beneath the surface, may you carry the ocean's lessons with you, reminders that beauty and danger, fragility and strength are not opposites, but partners in the endless dance of life. Good night, and safe travels.